Welcome to the Maine Famous podcast. April Shaw-Beaudoin, and today I'm talking with Virginia Shaffer of Lady Oyster. She has a book coming out this August. She's expanding into Bath, and we talk all about her half-day adventures on the water, tasting oysters. I'm excited to share this conversation with you, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Simon Griffiths, President and CEO of Camden National Bank. Camden National Bank is celebrating 150 years of standing beside the people, businesses, and communities that make Maine and New Hampshire home. And at the heart of it all is you. Every step of the way has been made possible because of your support. Even as we've grown, one thing has remained: our deep commitment to the communities we serve. We're not just here to offer financial guidance. We're here to show up, lend a hand, and be a true partner through life's big moments and everyday milestones. We're especially grateful to Maine Famous for shining a light on the local businesses and neighbours who shape the heart of Maine. Thanks for being part of our story.
Thank you so much for being on the show today, Virginia.
Thank you so much, April. I'm just really excited to be with you.
Well, we are going to talk about all kinds of things, but I want to jump right in with your book. You have a book called Oyster Society. It's coming out this August, and I want to hear, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about this?
I mean, 15. It's been a long time coming. We have worked so hard on this book, or I have. It took me 5 years to write it. Before that, it was another 5 years of traveling and storytelling. So to see this journey sort of, now come to life and for people to really read it is incredible to me. There's so many wonderful people in the book as well that have been waiting for their moment too. So I feel like I'm even more excited for them.
Tell me, is it pictures? Is it kind of a memoir told about different oyster farmers in Maine? What is the style of the book?
Yep. So it's technically food memoir.
Okay.
I always laugh at the term memoir because I think people have this idea of, I think you should be in your, maybe your mid-60s before you write your first memoir. It's really a narrative nonfiction. And it almost started as just an exclusively nonfiction book. But what happened was I couldn't, leave out the fact that I was changing as I was meeting the people in oysters. And so the whole book is about the human stories behind oysters and the incredible ways that we see our identity through them. But I couldn't, end that book without telling people, what was my next step in life. So it became food memoir.
Okay. And what is your next step in life?
Well, so what happened was I left my corporate job in 2023 and took a year off to finish the book. And when that happened, I was kind of like, what do I do now? I don't want to go back. And I had collected about 10 years of oyster knowledge, storytelling, and study. And we decided to host our first seafood retreat with friends here in Maine. And so that's where it all began. That went really, really well. And we were like, let's try that again and again. And it turned into daily tastings and events that we had done in the retreat and became a business.
And that's Lady Oyster.
Yes.
As it is now.
Yeah.
And you work on it with your husband, Warwick. Is that true?
Yes, he does have a full-time job.
Okay.
So healthcare.
Yes.
And he was an incredible level of support, an incredible shucker as well, free labor when you're starting a business. And we started it together with just a small table for 8 people on a rooftop and hoped people would come. And it just evolved to more seating, more space, different experiences. And so he actually this past year has been really able to kind of step away and refocus on what he does day to day. And we've been able to grow the team as well.
And how many people do you have working with you now?
We have, our boat captain, Joe, Andy. We had an incredible social media intern last year. And we have Kelly, who's a new boat captain who's come on. And the way that we work as well is we have a couple of different farm partners too, so we can extend our experiences through some other oyster farms.
expand on that.
Yeah. So, oh gosh. Well, I mean, Lady Oyster as a concept is all about gastronomic tourism. And, what does that mean? It's, in a normal sense, it's like gastronomos sort of means like the laws that govern the stomach. It's such a weird definition. In other words, it's also like the art of eating, essentially. And so what that context really is for our business is, can we take a singular food like oysters, give people the full context of that food through heritage, through process, nature, people. And so we designed experiences within our tour program that could get people hands-on with that food, but also have a really sensory dining experience and just learn story. So that's where we sort of grew the business, as these two verticals where people could really engage in the way they wanted. Yeah.
So I think last year when I discovered you online, and I think it was right before you came out, you were on the cover of My Maine, the magazine, their first magazine, and it was the most beautiful photo I have seen in Maine in the past year. And I was like, I need to know everything about Lady Oyster. And I couldn't quite tell. You go out on a boat and you take people through tours to try the oysters, but then you also still have that tabletop on the rooftop where people can come in and have champagne and wine and oysters. Is that true? Those are the two ways to come and work with you or visit you.
Exactly. And it's that's exactly what we wanted to do there. We want to meet people at different levels of the ways they love to engage with food, spend their time on vacation, and even learn their own backyard. So what we designed was those two verticals to really get people out on a boat charter and see the farm. And we work with Maine Oyster Company's farm to be able to facilitate that, as well as our other tour providers. And then the experience that I personally run are the tastings. And that all happens on the rooftop during summer. And then downstairs in a little general store that we're working through, they have tables for us to do that inside as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I was looking up some of the facts about Lady Oyster last year or yesterday. And I think you said you did 845 tours last year in 2025?
Well, that 800 and I think it was around 875 or so people who came to visit us.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
You know your numbers.
Still feels small but mighty.
That is very mighty. And you got started, you decided to try this out. How do you think you've been able to grow so fast? I mean, you've been recognized. We have a lot of awards that we're going to talk about during this interview, but it's kind of exploded. It's gotten way bigger than you in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's always interesting to sort of pinpoint what that was or why. I do have a sales and marketing background, so I think as far as what I love to do creatively to communicate with people has already been a part of sort of the blog before this ever started as a business. So we already had sort of a foundation of people following my stories. I think Maine, when I always came to Maine before I lived here, we had such an abundance of oyster farms, right? We have over 150 different farms in Maine. That's more diversity than any other state in the country. But I would come and funnel through oyster bars, and it was so hard for me to get context. Like, what are they doing? How are they growing these things? And so I think I just fulfilled questions that other people have, just like me, and allowed people to kind of pull back that curtain on Maine seafood and see it for what it is. And also combine that coastal lifestyle element that people really want to seek out as well. So I think our timing was great. I think as far as culinary tourism and as a sort of just a wave of curiosity and demand, we fell into the right spot at the right time. Yeah.
So if I went, and I'm going to do this, and I booked a half day, is it a
Adventure.
Adventure.
Yes.
Okay, a
Yes.
half-day adventure with you. What does that look like from start to finish?
Yeah. The half-day adventure is sort of the experience we're the most proud of, and really where you can come and stay a while with us and get to know both sides of Maine oysters through the dining experience and then also the farm. So if I were to sort of paint a picture of what that looks like, you arrive to Wallace Circle. It's just this beautiful prelude as you come down the circle. You see this coastline. It's such an incredible view. You park. We welcome you at the door. You come upstairs to the rooftop with us, and we have music going. We're pouring champagne. You get to just relax into that moment on the rooftop and take in your full surroundings. Once we are all settled, the tasting begins, and this is where we walk people through 3 different Maine oyster farms, 3 different bodies of water. And I'm a certified sommelier in oysters, so we teach you tasting etiquette and how to identify flavor. We pair them with nice wines, homemade bread, accoutrement, all sorts of things that sort of enhance this experience. So the goal for the first half of the adventure is to really connect with people. We're at communal tables, so everyone has an opportunity to get to know each other. And it's really a full sensory experience, from the tiny little details of the antique cocktail forks to the flowers, to the view, to the eagles, to the oysters and wine. It's amazing. After the rooftop, we take you downstairs, and you meet Joe, who's an incredible character on his own. We have lobster rolls together to kind of keep that belly full before you get on the boat. And then this is where golden hour is just about to hit, which is so, so lovely and such a nice part of the day. We get you out on the water. We head down this beautiful little channel to an oyster farm. We teach you all about farming, how to shuck. There's a little table on a float that we all gather around, and it's just magical. I mean, people fall in love with being able to know so much and learn so much, and then get to the farm and experience it hands-on, really. Yeah.
Do you want to name any of the oyster farmers that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, Maine Oyster Company is the farm we use for the half-day adventure.
Okay.
They are a pretty small farm, but it's kind of perfect because people get to experience it on that micro level. And for the tastings, we work with upwards of 50 farms a year.
Oh, wow.
So there are too many probably to name, but the best part about that is that people can come back, try new oysters, try new, hear new stories, and pair them with new wines that we rotate. Yeah.
And do you choose local wines from Maine, or are you more European based? How do you choose your wine?
Yes, sometimes we will feature some local wines. We love working with Oyster River wine growers. Their bubbles is incredible, and even some local breweries as well, depending on kind of the theme of the day. But I do typically stick to an old world wine program. We have tried some things out on the West Coast, and I completely respect our American wine program or our offering, but Old World wines just tend to stick better with our East Coast oysters. Yeah.
I could see that. How did you get interested in oysters? And also, where did you grow up? That's one thing I always love to cover on the Maine Famous podcast is, if you're not from Maine, how did you land here? And then how did you choose what you're doing?
Yeah, so let's see. I was born in Maryland on the Eastern Shore. So I have a lot of really great memories of the coast there. And like like many families kind of grew up in the suburbs of Maryland and DC. I went to school in DC and then sort of ventured my way up to Boston after that. For 10 years in the travel industry, I worked in corporate travel. I was like a big backpacker in college. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to be in travel, maybe corporate travel is like the grown-up version of work. And that was amazing. It took me to over 50 countries.
Wow.
I got to learn a lot. And my husband was in luxury travel, so he had some great perks as well. And honestly, oysters kind of came into my life really as a study about 5 years into my corporate life. I realized I didn't have any hobbies. I was working in sales. My job was my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like a loss of connection to nature and some of these things that I loved in my childhood. So I randomly chose oysters, and I try and tell people this because they're like, what led you? There must be something. And I do have a lot of really great childhood memories and things like that, but really it was just so impulsive. Like, I don't know anything about this food, but I love it. I'm going to call an oyster farmer. I have no problem cold calling anyone. And I did, and I received a yes. Come on down to the farm and we'll show you what we do. And it was January.
Oh.
It was in Wellfleet.
Wow.
I was in city clothes, standing in like knee-high water, shivering, holding an oyster in my hand. And I was like, this is awesome. It changed my life, just that one moment. And I think about what we're creating today and how I got here, which was, 10 years of courage trying to figure out what I could do with oysters. But I am essentially recreating that first moment on the farm for me that changed my life. And that's always really special to me to think about. Yeah.
So you talked about that first time standing. I have this picture in my head, and I wish I had a real picture to see it too, with you in your city clothes in January and having that moment of like, it's your eureka moment.
Yeah.
That's always the moment I'm trying to find when I talk to a business owner. What made you say, and shift, especially with a small business owner. What about your most memorable moment on an oyster farm in Maine?
Yeah. Maine, living in Boston, was like a big backyard for oysters. And I found myself returning here over and over again, not only because the oysters were so good, the people here were so welcoming, so open to you being a part of the community, even if you didn't have a perfect place in it. And I had come up for festivals and some farm tours and other things like that. I had actually even hosted an oyster culinary competition with Governor Janet Mills, which was really fun way back when. And I can't believe I got that opportunity when I did. But the most memorable, I think, for me was when I went to Phippsburg, which is where we're operating now. And my friend John, who owns Maine Oyster Company, he pulled up the skiff. This was, I think, late October.
What year?
This was 2019.
Okay.
So we had already been coming up to Maine quite a few times, but this was really kind of that, again, another eureka for Maine. We got on his skiff. We were all a little hungover from the festival the night before, I'm not going to lie. He brought like a bunch of Bud Heavies. It was just, all the dogs got on the boat. And we drove to the farm where we actually do tours now. The table that was normally on the float had been blown away from a storm. So we were searching for that in the Cape for like, I don't know, 30 minutes, couldn't find it. And we got on the float, dumped out a bag of oysters, and there were about 4 of us. And we blasted music, and we were just shucking oysters and having fun, and couldn't believe just how wonderful we were feeling and carefree. We got back on the boat, we're heading home, and a neighbor from the shoreline is like, "Yo, John, you missing a table?" And there it was, like covered in seaweed, just sitting on the side of the shore. And John's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll come back and get it. And it's just this banter as we were driving out of that channel with the lobstermen and that feeling. And it was still chilly. I mean, it's October in Maine, but I felt different there. I felt like this felt like home. And I hadn't felt that in a long time in any place I lived. Yeah.
And how long was it from October 2019 till when you moved?
Oh, it took me a while.
Because COVID happened a few months later.
Just happened.
Yes.
And it was kind of crazy because we were cultivating this community in Maine and then while living in Boston, and we were kind of getting up the courage to ask work if I could go remote, if I could move to Maine. And then COVID hit. And I felt like there was like almost a community I was losing a little bit through that. But we kept in touch with John. We kept coming up. We actually bought a home in Vermont.
Oh, okay.
So, whoa, out of the way. But I was having this sort of work crisis of trying to, I was burnt out. Travel was a terrible place to be in 2020, if you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I needed to get away. And Vermont, we had family friends there. We had community support as well that could just help us, kind of have time to sort of just work out life a little bit. So we were there for 2.5 years.
Okay.
And you cannot do oysters very well from the mountains.
Yes.
But that was the golden sort of ticket for me to finish the book and get out of corporate life, nurture a garden, and figure out my next step. So 2023, officially, we moved to Maine. Yeah.
I grew up in Maine, and I moved to Boston because I was so bored of it when you grow up in a small town and the city was so exciting. And it took me less than 2 years to burn out. I was so overstimulated living in the city and being here in the mid-coast where the pace of life is, I'm sure I would have found it painful, at 18 to be at this pace of life. But at 44, it's exactly what my nervous system wants. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like being in a safe hug all the time, especially, May through October. There's no place like Mid-Coast Maine.
Yeah, I agree. When I was living in Boston, we had, a great sort of work friend group. But what led me to oysters was really I didn't have community. I was just, sort of engrossed in that work life. And as much as I loved it, it also was really stimulating and really hard for me to keep up. I was in large market sales working with massive procurement teams for $100 million, bids. And they are, they're wonderful people. But at that level, you wait your entire year for maybe 1 or 2 wins. And I was just getting to a point where I was like, I need more wins in my life, So that's really kind of where that burnout came from and when I needed to change. And when we moved to Vermont, it was amazing. We had nature, we had a slower pace. But the issue with Vermont was I didn't have that sort of community I was building in Maine. We had family, but not really like friends. And so I felt isolated in a different way. So Maine sort of satisfied all boxes, community, energy, not large management contracts in my life. Yeah.
When you talked a minute ago about, okay, I had 1 or 2 wins a year and I needed more, those wins look a lot different now doing what you're doing. But can you talk about what that feels like? What does a win look like in 2026?
Yeah. I think owning your own business is really hard. There are ups and downs every single day that you face. And so perhaps I am getting more wins, but I'm getting more challenges at the same time. I think, though, as an operator, I'll put it this way, every single day I get to invite people who were sort of bright-eyed just like me into this magical world. And there's a moment at the end of that experience where they are so blissfully happy. They're so nourished, not just in food, but in emotion, that is such a win every day that I feel. I love it. I love that small, just dose of happiness I get. And it's fulfilling. And I'm so worried every single morning. I wake up before an event just panicking. Where are the flowers? Are the oysters okay? Do I have everything I need? Am I forgetting cocktail forks? All sorts of things. But when I hug them goodbye, that's where I'm just like, oh, this day was the best.
Are there other Maine entrepreneurs that you really look up to, or you have had any mentorship from as you have started to grow Lady Oyster?
I have had some wonderful mentors. I also went through the Top Gun program, which is Maine Center for Entrepreneurs, which opened me up to such an incredible level of resource. There is so much support for small businesses here in Maine, so I feel really lucky. I will say some initial inspiration came from, even I read Aaron French's memoir, and I read that while I was kind of struggling in Vermont, trying to finish my book, and that gave me a lot of grounding and, wow, other people have been through this before. So I really looked up to her. Maggie Knowles from Edible Maine, she invited me when I was just starting out to Dana Cohen, who was the former editor-in-chief of Food and Wine. She started a new podcast called Progressive Hedonist and a magazine, Speaking Broadly. And I was invited to this food community where I got to meet all of these incredible chefs and people doing just amazing sustainable work here in Maine. And that singular moment was like, wow, I feel so welcomed here. I don't know if I deserve it yet. So Maggie's been such a huge support. Karen as well from My Maine. Dana as well blurbed my book, which is awesome. And I think, I look up to Jordan Rubin at Mr. Tuna. I think there are a lot of people in seafood. So many women-owned farms in oysters as well. Abby Barrows up in Deer Isle has done some incredible sustainable work on her farm. I think I'm in a world where we're all entrepreneurs and scrappy. It's so different from my old life that I'm like, I love you all. And I think you're all doing amazing work. And I know how hard it is now.
Yeah, I think I've had that same experience in building Maine Famous and meeting so many people that I feel incredibly inspired by. And you were one of them. Okay, we've been jumping around so much in this interview, and I could honestly keep going for another hour and a half with you, but we don't have that much time. So I want to make sure people know where they can buy your book. It's coming out in August. It's called Oyster Society. Where can they get it?
So we are opening pre-orders.
Okay.
You can find it already at your main retailers like your Barnes & Nobles, Amazons, etc. Islandport Press is the publisher, so you can purchase it there. I will have plenty of signed copies if you'd like to come to an experience and take one home. So that's, of course, myself will be pushing as many as possible. So you'll be able to find it really anywhere. I think that your local bookstore would be the best place to support. And so mine is Mockingbird Bookshop in Bath, and they'll be a great partner of ours as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we are having this conversation in March, but the episode will come out in April, and I know people are going to be listening and they're going to want to know how quickly they can get out on the water with you and meet you. So when does your season open?
So we start in May and we go until the end of September.
Okay.
Sometimes we push into October if we have good weather, rooftop, cold, once the sun goes down. But this year we have some new experiences we're launching, actually. So we have the Parlor in Bath, which will be a new tasting bar. There's 4 seats only. I mean, it's tiny. But you can come in, try the wine we're using that week, try the oysters we're using that week, and then take them home with you if you enjoy them. Our tours start in May for the boats. Our half days start in mid-May. And we have 3 new women-owned farm partners this year. And that just gives more people opportunity to go from Yarmouth all the way up to Brooksville and have an incredible farm tour experience. So we've been working on that really intimately. And so I think, we have a couple other things in store, like a monthly neighborhood bake. I want to just have a more casual, relaxing place where we can talk about oysters in our community. I think there's something there for everyone.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Before we get to the lightning round, we're going to take a short break for our sponsors.
Come walk the wharf at Lyman Morris. Grab a coffee at Vacation Land, pick up a board from Camden Charcuterie, sip a cocktail at Blue Baron, and then head upstairs to Salt Wharf for dinner. And don't rush off. Stay for the sunset. It's the sunny side of Camden Harbor. Taking care of your home just got easier. Porch Roofing is a full-service exterior company, providing roofing, gutters, exterior services, and a full repair division, all with one trusted team. Visit horchroofing.com or call 207-250-5529. Samples Shipyard in Boothbay Harbor is one of Maine's most iconic working waterfronts. They handle wooden boat restoration, modern yacht service, and everything in between. It's a place built on generations of craftsmanship. Contact them now about moorings, dockage, service, and storage.
And we're back. Are you ready?
Yes.
Your favorite Maine oyster right now?
Ooh, there's too many. I am loving the Cora Cressy oyster up in Bremen, Maine.
Best wine pairing with a Maine oyster?
A very dry white, like a Chacolina from Spain. Yes.
Okay, excellent answer. Raw or grilled?
Raw always, grilled when I'm really, really hungry.
One place in Maine every visitor should experience on the water?
Oh, outside of Phippsburg in our location. Oh gosh. Let's see. Oh no. Now I'm blanking. Do I ever get off my own peninsula? Okay, well, I'll just stick to maybe a Popham Beach.
I love Popham Beach. It's the best. Last question. The biggest mistake people make when eating oysters?
The biggest mistake, well, they don't take it slow enough.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think slow down. Just enjoy it. Taste the brine first. Chew a little longer. Yeah.
Love it. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, April.
Yeah.